Hi, Dove here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of Hanecha 1220. And if you're really into the whole inked work thing, like black and white sort of illustrations, I do recommend you check out this artist. I believe I found this artist first through, I'm not even sure, was it Twitter or Instagram? The point is, I do recommend the Instagram version because it's more focused, I guess, on the art side. On their Twitter page, it's a bit more random, and there's a lot of like work in progress shots. So if you're into that, I do recommend you check that out. I will link all of the links in the description below. So yeah, if you're really into the whole black and white stuff, I did a video before of this guy, this art review of Shigenori Soejima. If you're into that sort of artist, I think Hanecha is kind of similar to that in terms of the black and white illustrations. Anyway, I mean they do have some colored work here, which is nice too. But the black and white is just so iconic for me. And what's cool here is they do this thing where they try to match their illustrations with a specific brand. I'm not. It's more about like a personal project sort of thing, and they try to fit the look of the illustration with the like the branding or the marketing of the brand. And what's fascinating here is that I actually thought this artist was doing things traditionally. However, I saw in one of their comments they actually do the 2D in Photoshop. But for the other stuff, for example, if we just scroll up here a bit. For example, these sorts of elements here, like the markers, the sketch pad or notebook, these are done in 3D apparently. And if you look at the Twitter page of this artist, you will see like the actual like 3D models being used, and it's so interesting being able to combine both 2D and 3D and make it look traditional 2D. So essentially it's digital 2D plus digital 3D. Resulting in an image that looks like a photo, so traditional 2D. And it's so interesting to find that sort of matchup. But obviously, I'm really interested in more of the black and white illustrations. And I was so convinced in the beginning. I was like, oh shit, like this guy has such really good like ink work. I mean, it's still good ink work, but I just thought it was like done in the traditional sense. But as you do focus in on the photo, you will see like the round brush being used. So that's where you can actually see, oh, like it does make sense that this was done like in Photoshop. And I like it. It's very simple. It's not really like they're not doing anything crazy in particular, but it's just cute. And I think the best part here is actually like the eyes. Like the way they do the eyes, it's so simple, but like in most anime illustrations, even though this is black and white, right? There's no color in these sorts of illustrations, but the way they do like the reflections, you see for each sort of drawing, there's the way the eyes are done. It's very specific to that piece, and so you do get that sense of individuality, right? And again, I think they're just using like a basic round brush, nothing fancy. I think Audio Technica is like a headphone company, like a sound audio brand. And I think sometimes they'll start with black and then they'll add in the white sort of ink on top. It's a nice mix. It's a nice mix. Now, obviously, pretty funny. But yeah, so the whole shirt is basically in black, but you add like the white later on. So it's sort of the reverse. It is a bit tricky, starting with black and then adding the white lines after. And it because it does look like a negative image. If you've ever flipped like an image, like a black and white image, or if you use a chalkboard, it does work for like illustrating information, but if you're trying to render something, I think it's a bit hard to start from a pure black sort of canvas and then add in the whites, especially if it's like line work. So I think it is a bit tricky, but you do have to be a little subtle with it, I guess. Look at this. It's so simple, right? But it's so cute, and that's what I like about it. Like these sorts of simple illustrations, like they're not super fancy, but they're just nice to look at. And it does help. Like it looks like it's an actual photo. It's a really good mix, like 3D plus digital 2D, equalizing to something that looks like a traditional photo, right? Like a random photo you took from your iPhone or your iPad, right? And obviously you would need to blend this together to make it look somewhat realistic, right? And they do add a bit of blur in the end. I think that's what leads to that photographic look even more, that sort of lens focus. And again, the way it's rendered, let me look at the black and white sort of. Look at that. It looks kind of sketchy, but it's very presentable. And again, look at the eyes. Like I would love to study the eyes or the way the eyes are done for each sort of illustration. Pretty cool. Oh my god. Look at that. She's so cute. Right? It looks so sketchy, but again, I wish I could zoom in a little more. Maybe we can find a higher resolution later. Do you see that? There's a bit of like a blur here in the bottom part and in this side. It just makes everything look like a photograph. Even if, because sometimes when you do like a 3D rendering, there are like some artifacts that make it look like a 3D render. But if you add like photo effects, most common one is like a blur or some noise. It just makes it look even more real and less digitally like rendered. Right? Look at that. Really cute stuff. And yeah, I did read that they do the black and white illustrations, basically the ink work in Photoshop. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously you can do this with any program, but yeah. And the way like it's rendered, it seems very manga-ish. And they sort of stick to a formula. It's either one is mostly black, kind of like this bag in the hair, and then you add like the highlights in white, or it's more like this where you see the shoulder area here and the arms, where you're doing more of a contour drawing and kind of encapsulating the shape via line or contour lines, right? It's a great balance too, like the hair here, the bag here, and everything else is more of it's white. It's a white shape, and it's enclosed by a black contour line, right? And look at the way it's rendered, especially the bag and the hair, the way they did the highlights or the white part, the folds even. Oh my god, it just looks so pure. And it's nice, I guess, not seeing so many holes whenever you're doing like the black shapes. Like it just feels more full that way. I mean, look at that. The blur fits so well. Oh, look at that. Again, the balance of something being mostly black and then the other areas being mostly white, and defined by just the contour lines. I also like the way the hatching is done, especially if it's white on black. Your lines are so clean and dynamic. Yeah, no doubt. This guy is really into Pornhub. Look at that. Now this one has a bit more grit in it. I do see some splatter effects. If you look at the way the shirt or this character is rendered, you do see a bit more like noise. So some texture brushes are being used there a bit. Maybe some photo effects, right? But this one feels more like a mixed media sort of piece, right? Oh my god. Now, as we go like further into their like recent work, it does get more gritty and less sort of solid like this. which is fine. So you can kind of see the diversity of their style. Now this one really does. When I saw it, oh yeah, I did see this person's work through Pinterest, and then I clicked one of the links. I believe it was this one, and then it linked to their Instagram. I remember seeing this and I was like, oh wow, like this was done, or it really looked like it was done traditionally, but because the blending is so cool, like with the notebook and even the rendering of these 3D assets, it just, everything just feels solid. And I did assume that there was like a touch up in Photoshop to kind of solidify the blacks, but that's not the case. It was really done in like Photoshop, I think, and then mixed in with the other 3D elements. But look at the way it's rendered. It's pretty hard to do like renderings this way or illustrations in just black and white. But when you do see one, that's why I have a lot of respect for like manga art, because they really like focus on, because at least in comics sometimes they'll add some flats or some basic coloring, but for most manga it's just pure black and white and maybe some halftones here and there. But look at that, so pretty. And again, the eyes are so great, and I want to study like the face too. Okay, here it gets even more grittier. Now if we focus in on any of these illustrations, the black part is not actually full black. They do add a bit of texture, so it looks like it's like a marker, like it's not a full black thing. So it looks like they had to go back and forth to fill in those black or inked parts, and I guess that makes it look even more traditional, right? Like it was done with marker or something. Now this one, the texture is getting a bit like, it's a bit too big and a bit blurry, so it kind of takes away a little bit. But yeah, you're sponsored. Oh shit, I thought this was a microphone. Oh, makes sense because of the, oh my god, oh shit, maid. Here we have a maid outfit, kind of hot. Again, it does get grittier. You know what makes me want to do black and white drawings again? It's just so fun. I think they use Maya and Blender. Whenever you see comments like they're saying like they did, or this guy did all of it in Blender or Maya. Well, maybe the assets, but I think they did mention in one of their comments that the actual drawing is done in Photoshop, and then it's sort of blended in with the 3D renderings. Right, look at, oh my god, right? Oh, I think this is Anya from the Spy X Family anime. Oh, makes sense, right? Now, as you can see, it does look grittier. Maybe they're trying to go for that really traditional look, and it's very convincing, by the way. Way more than these ones. Now this one, it does look kind of convincing, but I think it really works well with the branding. You know, the when you start to add these sorts of like extra elements, like 3D renderings, I think this sort of clean way of illustrating stuff fits better, right? If you want a more raw, sort of sketchy vibe, just look at their recent work, and it does look way more. Yeah, it does look way more, yeah, traditional. But these ones are just, I mean, look at the way the coat is rendered, right? Again, the eyes are so well done. I mean, it's so simple, but it's hard to do. And it's so unique too, and yeah. I would put this artist in the category of Soejima in terms of like the graphic, like black and white sort of look, rendering look. And they don't use a lot of like texture brushes. It's mostly like a basic round brush with a bit of like pen pressure being used. So that's it for this art review of Hana 1220. I will link both the Instagram and the Twitter in the links below. And yeah, So that's it. I'll see you in the next art review or video. Bye.